Hello and welcome to the Legends and Lads Cricket Podcast. This is the 95th time we're hitting on that record button. My co-host Maitreya joining me. Vijay sir and Rakesh sir couldn't join us this week. But yeah, I know it's been a long time since the India-England series ended. I think we waited for the dust to settle and we are here to record an episode or say a review on the inaugural edition of the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. Now, Maitreya, I'm still trying to process how we got a 2-2 draw in the England series. Well, we could have been celebrating a series win. We missed out on some important occasions. Well, we did a lot of mistakes. But yeah, looking at the positive side about the series, the way we made a comeback, and with a young team, with a young captain, I think you know, we should pour out admiration for the team. So yeah, it was an incredible fifth test match, especially because it went down right down the wire, and it was India's narrowest win in Test cricket history of 130 plus years history, right? So it is an incredible performance, and Mohammed Siraj, and he put up a performance for the ages. I think he was the only Indian player in the 11 who played all the 10 innings in the series. Now I don't want you to talk about right now about Siraj because we I want to reserve a part of this episode about him. But yeah, initially we'll come back to him. Yeah, but initially, just talk about the series draw. Now, how did you feel? Because we lost the first game, then we won the next one, then we lost the subsequent test at Lords, I guess, and then to come from there to draw a series, and it's not a child's play. So your emotions when we drew the series two, what did you feel about it, my friend?
Yeah, so after going through the whole series, if you see part by part, at the beginning of the series, maybe I was a little skeptical because the transition phase is going on for the Indian team, especially in the Test cricket, and this is the first series after Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have retired, and new setup, new bowlers, new batsmen, and Karun Nair was back and lots of changes in the atmosphere. Gautam Gambhir is the coach, and the record was not so good so far, and everything was kind of new. And it's England, and it's the first time, as you have already mentioned, it's a Tendulkar Anderson Trophy. So all these things, play a lot of the mind. The mind level also there is a lot of confusion for all these new players coming in. How many people are going to be in the 11, who's going to stay out, who's going to stay in, what are the combinations, will they set right, that number 4 problem. All these things were there, and I actually felt at the end, 2-2 is a really great thing for India because comparatively, India are the underdogs here because England is their home ground, and as well as that, they have more experienced players there. So to make them, snatch the win away from them is a biggest victory right now for India because it's all about confidence building, a new young team, and even though they have not won the series, they have, pulled away the victory from England, and that is itself is a big win and confidence booster. It will help India in the upcoming series. So it was all about teamwork, I felt. And as you have said, the narrowest of margins. And as a fan point of view, I got the thrill of watching Test cricket because, from the last 1.5 year, I felt Test cricket is on a decline. That was the kind of the, talk that was going on. But now I feel people are going to connect again with Test cricket with the level of Test cricket there. Each player performing. Who expected Washington Sundar to hit a century all of a sudden, and who expected Karuna to play that important 50 in that last Test. When people are saying he's out of form and he's not going to play well. Everyone else didn't perform, but Karuna performed. So each one surprise after surprise and teamwork. That was the main highlight of this whole series. And 2-2 was a really big thing for India, I know, because we have lost the previous Test series, and in New Zealand at home there was a whitewash, and that was really incredibly terrible. Even 1 year later, still people talk about that because that was really bad. But after that, in England, snatching away their victory by the least of margins, playing the highest level of cricket at the their home ground, that is considered to be the birth of cricket. So I think that is all the great memories that Indian fans will have right now.
Yeah, Maitreya, I'll run you through my experience in the last last few balls of the India England series. So I was in the college. I was seeing the scorecard. The college classes had just, you know, the last period had got over, and then we were just seeing the live scorecard. We had the option to running into the hostel dining hall and then seeing the match. Uh, some of my friends sat back, thinking, it's a waste of time going. It was already by then, I think 9 wickets had fallen and 17 runs to win. Chris Wokes was on the other end, and 6 runs, 17 runs to win, and it was a boundary, 6 runs, and we were like, people stayed back thinking India could lose this. I thought, yeah, it's worth watching that 1 wicket. Maybe we could produce a wicket. So I ran to the hostel, and as soon as I came into the dining hall, I could see Siraj taking out that wicket, bowling a 143 km per hour Yorker and just rattling the stumps out. I think that was worth running all the way to my hostel from my college. So I think incredible. You know, entire hostel went boom. Everyone's shouting. Um, you know, everyone enjoyed the taste of Test victory. I think it was very special, especially the fifth Test match. Yeah, we need to talk about Mohammed Siraj because he gave us that sweet victory. And I would like to name this episode, say, Siraj's Sweat, India's Sweet Victory. Because Mohammed Siraj, he has bowled almost I was reading this article, Maitre, and I've seen that he has bowled 43 spells in the entire series and has bowled over 1,122 balls. That's crazy for a fast bowler. You could be a spinner and you could bowl those many amount of balls because you don't need that much run up, you don't need that much aggressive movement in your body. But being a fast bowler and bowling these many balls and these many spells in 1 month's time, I think that is really crazy amount of workload that he has put on his body. And hats off to his fitness also. Yeah, we'll talk about Siraj's spell, Maitreya. You've seen, I think, I'm sure you had the chance to watch the match live, if not for the entire day, maybe for a little period of time. So he stepped up to the occasion when Bumrah wasn't there, and he handed us a sweet, sweet victory in the fifth Test match, and that was one of the greatest comebacks for the Indian team. So talk about Siraj's incredible performance in the series.
Yes, I think Siraj is one, bowler we have not appreciated that well because maybe we have, concentrated more on Bumrah that we have forgotten that we have a match winner even in Siraj because the kind of bowling he does, the speeds, as you mentioned, consistently hitting those 130s, 140s, and bowling, those number of overs without any, not having that excuse of workload management, nothing. He has been playing almost every test match or every ODI, every T20, wherever he has been included in the playing 11. He has been fit to play for the last 2 years, I think. So there is no point of telling that workload management or injury, nothing came in his way, and he has been performing consistently. And I think really because people started comparing him, as a meme it started, they compared him to Vivian Richards. But I think when it comes to his attitude, he really shows that because Vivian Richards was a fearless cricketer, and I think we have seen that maybe not in the batting. Yes, we have seen even that in the batting, when he tried, to almost snatch away that match from England while playing those, I think he played almost 40 odd balls because I remember watching it live. And the moment, when Bumrah became out, I was like, oh no, it's gone. Siraj won't be able to bat. But when Siraj came and batted, I, it was unbelievable for me because I didn't think Siraj could, bat those many balls, especially prime England attack. Jofra Archer was there, Chris Wokes, all those star bowlers. Siraj is there, giving them defenses, solid defenses, and that unfortunate wicket that still, sometimes when I get those reels, it still breaks my heart because the ball, I think you would have seen that, maybe not live, but the ball, he defended it, but it rolled over to the stumps, and that's how that match ended. Otherwise, that would have been one of the greatest exploits in the recent times, and it would have
Yeah,
been
I would
another
like to add
great
one more
one.
thing, Maitreya.
Yes, yes.
I'd heard the commentary of it when Ravi Shastri says, to carry Siraj off this ground, you need a crane because that heartbroken he would have been in that test match in the Lord's Test when he hits the ball. I mean, when it hit rattled the stumps later.
Yeah. So, Siraj, the way he has performed, and previously the quote, was, I only believe in Jesse Bai, but I think it changed, especially after the fifth test match. Siraj, I only believe in myself, that was his motto, and he believes in the teamwork. I think as a team, everyone helped him, and he stepped up, onto the occasion because with Bumrah having to face workload management, that is, Bumrah has a unique action, and it's his problem. That is, I think, a personal issue. But Siraj stepping up, leading the young bowling attack with his experience, with his limited experience, I should say, is one of the greatest takeaways from this whole series. The way he has stepped up onto the occasion with the bat, in the fielding, with the ball, I think Siraj was like the center of attraction. I think finally he got recognized because till now he was seen as Bumrah's, you can say, assistant kind of, but now Siraj has made a name for himself, and I think that is a really good takeaway for India because Bumrah, even though he performs exceptionally well whenever he's played, but the amount of matches he misses are a lot, and we need someone, two, three more people who are always there to lead the attack. And I think Siraj is, a front liner right now who's going to, take the Indian bowling to the next level in the coming few years.
Yeah, rightly said, Maitreya. And yeah, not to forget Prasidh Krishna's spell in the oval. It wasn't just very good. I think it was seriously a series defining spell because the 8 wicket haul in the test match, and it was pure fire. I think Siraj and Prasidh Krishna ran over the England lineup on day 5, just wrapping it up in few hours. And you could see Siraj and Prasidh Krishna huddling just after the break. I mean, just when the break was called, you could see them huddling in the ground, and I think they were planning something, and I think they executed it brilliantly, and England handed over India that narrowest win. So talk about Prasidh Krishna's contribution, because when he started bowling his spell, I think he looked little off. He was bowling very different line and length, inconsistent line and length, and then when the game plan was clear, I think he really bowled so well, and he got those very important wickets as well.
Yes, so if you analyze, the whole test series as a whole, Prasidh Krishna in the beginning was very expensive because I remember him giving his economy rate was literally 4 to 5. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I remember, especially in the first test. And there were lots of people. Once you don't perform well in the social media, people start giving those nasty comments, drop him off the team like that. But I think Prasidh Krishna has evolved because, our bowling coach is Morne Morkel, and he's a really great bowler in the international arena. So I think he has shaped Prasidh Krishna really well. And those England conditions have also helped him a lot. And coming to, as you have said, the way has evolved, from first test to fifth test. In the fifth test, he and Siraj, ripped through the England bowling attack. And especially, I saw one clip in Instagram, where Prasidh Krishna did a kind of a bluff. I think, and that was a real breakthrough, in the fifth test because he set up a field as if he was going to bowl a bouncer because he placed a third man, and it was literally him telling out loudly that I'm going to bowl a bouncer the next ball. So the batsman was psychologically prepared for a bouncer, and the next ball was a Yorker that rattled the stumps. Those kinds of mind games in those peak situations, I think that's what cricket is all about because it's not just the skill, it's about how you use the skill. And that kind of mind games also, it intrigues even the audience. And I think the batsman was really dumbfounded, and that's when the collapse of wickets began on day 5, and India sealed the victory. So these kind of little moments, when you use your mind along with your skill, that integration I think is really important in a game like cricket because it's all about mind game and teamwork, and those high pressure situations, how you react and how you act in those situations matter a lot. So that's what really impressed me because from the first test to the last test, the kind of praise he got after the last test, the transformation, I think that is what cricket is all about. You evolve with each game you play. That experience should make you better and better, and that is what we have seen in Prasidh Krishna's performance through this series.
Maitreya, let's talk about Shubman Gill. I mean, the young captain. when he took over the test captaincy, all of us was, both of us was skeptical about his, we had an informal talk and we were thinking Shubman Gill as a test captain, but he has proven all of us wrong. He scored personally a lot of runs in the series, 700 odd runs, close to Bradman and Sunil Gavaskar, and breaking all those records, personal records. And plus, what an impressive start for him. 2-2 an England series, away test series, and young team, inexperienced side, I would call it. Captaining that kind of a team, making them go to 2-2 is really great start for this captain. And I'm sure Shubman Gill, I'm sure Gautam Gambhir will mold him, proper test captain. I'm sure it'll take time, and he's done really a good job at the start. So yeah, talk about Shubman.
Yes, as you said, we were skeptical about Shubman Gill because we didn't think he was fit for the Indian team because I personally felt Shreyas Iyer could have done a better job, or KL Rahul could have stepped up, or Rishabh Pant himself. They could have taken Rishabh Pant as a captain. That's what I felt at that time. But I think my views have changed after seeing him really function well as a captain. And we even had this conversation, if you remember, with Sumed Bilgi sir, when he came on our show as a guest. We asked him about Shubman Gill's leadership skills, and he spoke so highly about Shubman Gill. And that is when I felt maybe Shubman Gill really had that in him, that kind of leadership quality, that he can do it over in the national level also. And I think he just proved himself after this series because working with a relatively young team, inexperienced team, and everything was against his side because the home ground was England's, and the most experienced players were in England. India just had Jadeja as the most experienced player. The transition phase. Gautam Gambhir is a new coach who didn't have a good record in Test cricket, and with all these odds against him, I think he stepped up. With the bat as a player on the field, gathered, made the team as a whole and stood out, like I should say, like a lion on the front, that those verbal duels in Test cricket, you have to, do those things also because I think some may say he was copying Virat Kohli, but I should say that was inspired because from each leader you take few qualities and you try to imbibe them and become a leader of your own. And I think that's what Gill did because I think in Test cricket aggression also is important at some point of time because it's a long game and you have to keep that heat in you to function well. And he has to stand up for his players, as a captain, and that's what he did. With the bat he led from the front, and even as a captain he has really taken up the responsibility and proved all his critics wrong. And I think that is really great for Indian cricket as a whole because people are even looking at him as a future potential captain in the ODIs. So with that, the next step, I think Indian cricket is in safe hands right now as far as Test is concerned.
Yeah, Indian cricket is in safe hands. I've heard it a lot of times now, Maitreya. Uh, yeah, well, we are praising the Indian team for its amazing performance. Well, the fielding had its own dip, and we even saw how inconsistent sometimes our batters were. Well, it's Test cricket, and we all of us know that 5 Test matches, almost all 5 days were played in all the 5 Test matches, going down to 60 sessions in every Test match. Almost was played, except I think one Test match or two. So I think that required so much of physical strength, physical resilience, mental resilience, and we had talked about Test cricket a lot in the last few episodes. I think with Tim Wigmore, we talked about that, Maitreya. So we know how Test cricket is, and India had dropped almost, I think, 23 catches in the series. And that's what the stats say. And because of that, we had made England hit, I think, 718 runs because of that drop catches. I think if the catching efficiency would have been better, I think we would have been in a better position. Maybe would have been celebrating a series win after 2002, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, it's a learning thing. And while we all know that the test record over the past few months, I think from the New Zealand series at home, and then with the Australia away series, and now back to England away series, I think our test team needs little polish, and it's already happening. We are winless, a series winless in the last 3 series. I think we'll come back stronger for the next test series at home, and I'm sure we would do well.